When you have a record as good as Michael Carrick's has been, you get to make the decisions you want. Let's talk about Uncle Cass. The majority of us were singing one more year, please.
I think there's a willingness on both sides to get this deal done. I think Harry Maguire is keen to stay. And I think the one thing you can say about Maguire is that he's always there, he's always available, and he always gives 110%. If you're listening, Jason Wilcox, Omar Barada, do not even think about allowing him to leave the club at the end of the season.
Should he be winning the PFA Player of the Year?
Yeah.
I feel like you're saying he is.
Yeah, 100%.
Everyone's jumping on board the train. There seems to be this misconception, right, that top players win things by themselves. It doesn't happen. For the Arsenal fans that want to act like Bruno's not in contention for the PFA Player of the Year by talking about all the things Arsenal have done. No, the PFA Player of the Year, it's not Team of the Year.
Yeah.
It's Player of the Year.
Beckham or the captain?
Crookie, I don't like the question. I don't. Hello and welcome back to Inside Devils talkSPORT show that keeps you bang up to date with everything going on outside of Old Trafford, and it's another 3 points for Michael Carrick's Reds. Unbelievable scenes at Old Trafford. Casemiro, Bruno hitting the surfboard as well, and Sesko back to Ole Gunnar Sesko off the bench. It was absolutely brilliant, and to go through it, of course, is talkSPORT's Angelina Kelly. Thanks for joining us as usual here with the good vibes.
Of course.
And Crookie down the line, obviously. Not here in person. Crookie, you there? You good?
Not AI.
I'm good. I'm definitely not AI. I've told you I can't come in, can I? Until this run of form ends. I don't want to jinx it.
Until United win 5 in a row, you're not coming in. Yeah, he doesn't want to. He shall not be named like the manager. This show is sponsored though by BetMGM. Remember that. You can download the app or visit betmgm.co.uk, 18plusgambleware.org, and please gamble responsibly. Let's get into it, Crookie. Massive win this was, because we wanted to create some daylight between ourselves and Aston Villa. We knew that Chelsea would be playing Newcastle United. I'm not going to say we knew that Liverpool would be playing Spurs, because we all expected Liverpool to win that game. However, it was just a real important game for us to bounce back from the Newcastle United defeat and create some daylight between ourselves and Aston Villa and start cementing third place.
Yeah, this felt like one of, if not the most important games of the season so far, not just because of the congested nature of that race for third, fourth and fifth in the table, but because obviously it was a disappointing result against Newcastle, losing against 10 men, and it was the first time I think that Michael Carrick really had a job on his hands to prove how this team could bounce back, and they did it with flying colours, obviously won with ease. In the end, they've taken the lead, they've conceded an equaliser very quickly, but still dusted themselves down and got on to get the 3 points. So I think it was just about the perfect afternoon, as you say, when you factor in what happened with Chelsea 24 hours previously, Liverpool dropping points that we didn't expect them to as well. And we are in pole position now, aren't we, to at least bring Champions League football back to Old Trafford next season. I think third is very much attainable. I know, Flex, maybe you've got your sights set a little bit higher.
Whoa, aim big.
Yeah.
What's the saying? Dream big, something, moon, stars, all of that. I can't remember the name of it, but basically think high.
Yeah.
Aim high. Yeah? Why not? Why can't we go after City? Why not? Don't look behind. Don't look below. Look above, look in front. But am I getting carried away, Ange, or should we just relax a little bit?
Maybe a little bit, but I think it's okay. I mean, I think Michael Carrick even said after the game, how it's good that we're able to enjoy the wins and enjoy the victories. So, I mean, I think we all know that would take a lot of doing, but why not have a little bit of fun with it, because it's Man City. But it's amazing when you think about last season and where we were to be in the top four, to have pretty much cemented ourselves within the top four. It's an amazing achievement, and obviously hats off to Carrick and what the work that he's been doing. Benjamin Šeško, like you say, off the bench, looked absolutely fantastic, and just nice to be in this Champions League mix. The idea of and I know I've spoken about it before and said, do we really on paper have a team that could go, far in the Champions League? I'm not too sure, but the way that this league phase is, you look at teams and you look at a team like Bodo Glimt, in the league phase, it seemed like they were down and out and they managed to pull it back. So it's very interesting. So playing in this format for the first time, you don't know where they could go. So I think it's just nice. It's just nice, and we can enjoy it.
That bit you're saying there of just enjoying it, people were billing this game, Crookie, actually. Even United fans of first loss under Carrick after Newcastle United, lost in the last minute, but some of his subs, and if we don't win this game, wheels can start to fall off, and you win it, and in the manner that we did, all of a sudden the positivity kicks in. Carrick's on the sideline, a little bit of dad dancing, a little bit of Alan Pardew, showing a little bit of character, a little bit of emotion. And now everyone's happy again. We'll talk about some of these individuals, of course. Bruno stole the headlines, Casemiro, Sesko, you just said there, Cunha. But, is that just what it's about, Crookie? That actually there's a real good feeling and a real good vibe that Michael Carrick's brought back just by bringing some consistency and some calm. Everyone's enjoying themselves again.
Yeah, I've got to say I wasn't nervous. I
not?
commentated for talkSPORT in the Europa League on Thursday. It was, on paper, a decent win away from home against Lille, but really average side that they were up against, and they didn't create a plethora of chances in that game. The goals have dried up, but I think not just about Villa and the fact that I do believe it was a good time to play them. I've got faith in Michael Carrick to get a tune out of this group of players, whereas before, I think we went into every game, no matter who we were playing. I remember we did the podcast pre-Grimsby, and I said, this could be problematic. Yeah. And of course, look what happened. But now, I don't have that sense of dread. And even when Aston Villa equalised previously, I'd have probably been thinking under the old regime, well, we're going to lose this game and we're going to fall further behind in the race for a Champions League place. I never got that sense. I was always confident that Carrick would make the changes necessary and they go on and win the game.
Yeah.
It's a nice place to be at this moment.
It is. And we're getting good problems. I mean, Andrew, remember when we've been speaking on here on the pod that there's been so much talk about Benjamin Sesko. Should he start? Should he not? And I think at the time, he was like, "Don't really care. He doesn't have to start, etc." And after the weekend just gone, I was like, you know what? I'm not even having that conversation anymore, because when you have a record as good as Michael Carrick's has been, you get to make the decisions you want. And when Benjamin Sesko, last time I checked, looks as happy as he looks, and the team is winning football matches, and he's on 9 Premier League goals now. Yeah. Who cares whether he starts or doesn't start? It doesn't matter at this precise moment.
I agree. I mean, I just think, like you say, he doesn't look to be that affected. The way that the guy came in, the pressure that he was under, he got a lot of scrutiny early on. He'll just be happy that people are speaking about him in a positive way. He's coming onto the pitch. He's been able to express himself, score great goals. What more can you ask for? I think it would be a little bit... I know that he's been playing well, but I think it'd be a little bit entitled to it. No, I need to be starting. You need to trust the manager because he's been doing very, very well. And the proof's in the pudding. He's playing excellently. I mean, you look at the stats. I mean, I think looking at goals per minute since the 7th of January, he leads the league on that because he's scored 7 goals, played 363 minutes, and it's 51.86 minutes per goal. You look at Victor Gyökeres, who has scored 6 goals, but he's played 668 minutes, 111.33 minutes per goal. And those two have been pitted against each other. I think the argument's done that Šeško has been the better signing, in my personal opinion. I know that the season's still got a way to go for Arsenal. Maybe you can create some moments of magic whilst they're hoping to get the quadruple. But I think overall, Šeško has proven himself. He's got nothing else to prove. Whether he starts, he's benched, whatever, he's been brilliant.
Yeah, he's scoring goals and he's doing exactly what you want your striker to do, and he looks confident whilst doing it. Us as the fans, we always look for those solutions because, there was even chat of maybe fans saying maybe Maguire and Yoro shouldn't start this game. He wasn't really great against Newcastle. Drop him, and it's like, just trust in Michael Carrick. Like, just, I actually before the game I was like, you know what, I can see if Carrick goes back to the tried and tested and Mbuemo up front. You know that Villa play a high line. You want the quicker players on the pitch, and that's kind of how the game went. And Mbuemo didn't play amazingly well, but then you open up the game as it gets a little bit later. You bring on Sesko, he does the damage. Let's talk about Casemiro. Yeah. Let's talk about Uncle Cass. Let's talk about this farewell tour, Crookie, because I was at the ground in Old Trafford, and the majority of us were singing "One more year, one more year, please." His celebration, he's pointing to the badge, didn't kiss it, but he's pointing to the badge, giving it all the passion, etc. He has, of course, announced that he's leaving. Michael Carrick was asked about it. Would you try and have a conversation here, Crookie? Would you try and get another year out of him?
I don't think so, to be honest. Listen, he's playing superbly, but you have to factor in that he's only playing one game a week, sometimes only one game every 10 or 11 days. I think if you're looking at a squad to compete in Europe next season, therefore play 3 games a week, then probably that time has passed for Casemiro. And I think the fact that he's announced his own exit, he obviously feels like the time is right to say goodbye. And I do think we need to look for somebody younger, someone who's not going to command the high wages that he does. I understand why we're being swept up in sentiment, but I think as a hierarchy's job not to be swept up in that sentiment and to make brutal decisions for the good of the football club. And Casemiro isn't the future. He's obviously had a fantastic career, but as I say, I think we need to look for younger blood now.
Oh, come on, Crookie, believe, man. Come on. Why can't we just... Listen, I get the thing about the wages, 100%. Everything Crookie said there is right, by the way. Like, everything is correct. He should be leaving on those wages and don't commit on those high wages. However, is there a way, Ange, you could just say, Cass, listen, I know it's cheeky, but I want to ask if you can still come to work next year for half the money. Yeah, half the money.
He ain't doing that.
Crookie just said about 3 games a week. Don't have to play 3 games a week, mate. Don't worry. Them big Champions League games, mate, we'll let you manage it. We'll get Tonali. You stay, yeah? When it's big Champions League games away, you come in for that. Rest midweek, no problem. You know, I mean, is there a way we can have a conversation, or is it definitely done?
I mean, you can always have a conversation. I think it would look a little bit ridiculous from a PR perspective if you've said you're leaving and then you turn things around.
It's a great story.
Yeah, I just think
Stretford singing his name, saying 1 more year, and he goes, you know what, I love this club. You know
I
what,
know,
I'm going to do it.
For him, eventually he's going to leave, and I think for him to have the right prospects. For him on a personal note, it is the right time to go. I get it.
Things change, Ange.
He's been amazing. You know, he's the best player in the Premier League at attacking set pieces at the moment. So I completely understand it. I just think, and I always say this thing about cutting the cord.
Yeah.
In that sometimes, even though he's playing so well, this is the right time, because there is a risk that next season we see him struggling a little bit. We do need somebody with a little bit more mobility in midfield.
You get that and keep him.
But financially, I don't. He ain't taking the wage cut.
Do you know what? I'll be honest.
He ain't taking a big enough wage cut for that.
He's not, and it's rude. It's rude to say, come to work next year.
Well done. You've been absolutely amazing. You've been one of our most important players. Take a wage cut and stay.
I get it, but someone who said this to me who said that's rude. Yeah, I said, listen, we're normal people. Do you know what I mean? So if that was normal life and they're saying, come in to do your pod and say, we love what you're doing, and they said, you're going to get half, you were like, oh, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
When you're a multi-millionaire, the job satisfaction is what is more.
Yeah.
When you're a multi-millionaire, the feeling, his family, his kids, his wife, those are contributing factors. Look at Bruno Fernandes. He said, I didn't go to Saudi. I said to my wife, she said, are you done here yet? He said, no, because, well, we're not going anywhere. So what if Casemiro's wife just says, hey, hon,
we're pinning our hopes on Casemiro.
The kids are about to go in. They got SATs test. They're going into year 6. It's an important year. You can stay. We're good for money.
And again, because you're a multi-millionaire, wherever you go in the world, you can have the best shooters in the world for your kids, and they'll pass the SATs test, whether they're in the MLS, whether it's in Saudi.
Yeah, but the job satisfaction, where they're going to love you like this.
Well, I don't know. I think he'll always... Casemiro is one of those players, if he loved anywhere. I like what you're trying to do.
Just saying, man.
But this is the right time for him to go.
Okay.
It is the right time. We need to focus on getting the right replacements.
2 sensible Sallys in here.
Yeah.
Not just being so sensible, you know, running the club properly. Sometimes you need a little bit of magic, and that's all I'm saying. I did think about this, Crookie, that you're right, it's the right time, sentiment-wise. I'd love for there to be a way where he could stay, but financially it's not going to work. However, I was thinking about when we actually have to replace him, they aren't going to give us what he actually gives us, though. When you think about it, the things that they will trade off for mobility, winning the ball back, you know, durability, 100%. That's what Tonali or Anderson and Baleba, that's what they're going to give you. None of the guys we're looking at are going to give you 7 to 10 goals as well. So we actually need to remember that replacing him is gonna. We have to consider that we are taking like a box threat in both boxes, you know, out of our team. So we need to consider that when going for the next batch of midfielders, don't we?
It's a good point you make about goals, because I've obviously watched a lot of Adam Wharton this season. I've still got concerns about him when it comes to the physical side of the game. I think he's someone who tires a lot in matches and doesn't tend to complete 90 minutes, but his range of passing is superb, but he's still never scored a goal for Crystal Palace. Carlos Baleba is capable of the spectacular strike, but he's by no means a regular scorer of goals in the Premier League. I was just trying to look at Sandro Tonali's record there, but I think he fits into that category as well as someone who got
5 or 6 maybe.
Yeah, I mean, he can smash one in from 25 yards, but he's not that threat from set pieces, certainly, the Casemiro. So I think it's a brilliant point that you make
See, how much does that cost to replace Crookie? A goal-scoring defensive midfielder.
This is when all these forwards that we've bought need to step up.
Well, Declan Rice costs 105 million quid. That's what I mean.
Yeah, but Declan Rice wasn't a goal-scoring midfielder at West Ham, and I know it was a frustration of our own Stuart Pearce when he was a coach there that Declan Rice didn't do enough for him in the other penalty area. He was very good at defending his own box, but he's added that to his game at Arsenal, and I think someone like Elliot Anderson in particular would have the ability to do that if he came to United.
Yeah, it is really interesting, but sometimes obviously it is right to move on, but when you don't replace him with the right person, you really do feel the gap of the person before. When you find yourself in this sort of revisionism cycle of like, should we have actually got rid of Casemiro? We've got these guys in, and they run hard, but we ain't got any goals from midfield. It's all on Bruno. What are we going to do?
Yeah, of course it's a big risk, and you're not one to want to pin your hopes on the hierarchy at Manchester United. However, I will say that the recruitment that has been done with our goalkeeper, with the players up front, etc., they did get it right.
Yeah.
So
and they need that this summer.
You have to. That's going to be the key. That they've got to get it right moving forward.
Another player who is due a new contract is Harry Maguire. And he was excellent once again.
Yeah.
He is more likely, according to reports, and we'll come to Crookie in a second actually, of how he best understands that situation currently. But what we do know up until now, he is more willing to take a pay cut. He's still solid, Ange, man.
Yeah.
He is. Would you give him a new contract?
Yes, I would. I think that we do need to look at the centre-back situation because Matthias de Ligt, I can't even remember the last time I saw him. I think it's unfortunate because I think he was doing quite well overall, but fitness, injuries, etc. have caught up with him. Lisandro Martinez, he's come back from that big injury, but he's injured again. So you've got to weigh that up, and as much as we've got younger players like Lenny Yoro, who spoke really nicely about Harry Maguire and how he likes working with him, and he's kind of helping him out a little bit. And you've got someone like Aidan Heaven who looks promising, but I do think that we do need more in defence because these two players with these injuries and we can't afford that to happen next season when you're competing, hopefully, in 4 competitions for a good stretch of the season. So yeah, I think Harry Maguire, keeping him would be massive going towards that, because otherwise if he does go, then that's going to be 2 defenders that we're going to need to buy. Yeah. I mean, and I'm not even talking about the fullbacks yet.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Yeah, I think keeping him, I think he's earned it. Obviously, at the time of us speaking, we've got a few more days until the Thomas Tuchel squad announcement. I think everybody's
worked your magic on Thomas since the last time.
Hopefully, after having that chat with him about Luke Shaw, Harry Maguire, Kobbie Mainoo, we'll see. But I think Harry Maguire's one that definitely deserves to we don't know about the World Cup yet, but I think this next camp he 100% deserves to be in it. You look at certain players that Thomas Tuchel's used before, someone like John Stones, for example. Harry Maguire's been better than him because he's been on the pitch more than him with his injuries and things. So I think he definitely deserves a chance to return to England to really prove himself, and I think he'd be a very important person in that camp for a World Cup.
Crookie, for you, well, firstly, how do you understand the situation with how United are treating this situation with Harry Maguire versus the players' perspective? And secondly, just your own opinion on, do you think we should be trying to retain his services?
I think there's a willingness on both sides to get this deal done. I think Harry Maguire is keen to stay, and I think United are keen to keep his experience in the building. I guess it's a bit contradictory of me to say they should cut the cord with Casemiro and then keep Maguire, but I think the centre of that defence is so important, for the development of the likes of Lenny Yoro and Aidan Heaven, both of whom, in my opinion, are not quite ready to play week in, week out at the top level in the Premier League. To have someone like Maguire who's been there and had a lot of highs and lows, a lot of ups and downs during his Manchester United career, just to help guide them through. And just in terms of another body, because has anyone seen Matthias de Ligt, by the way? I mean, he was going to be out for a couple of weeks, wasn't he?
Yeah,
he's been showing any great sign of being back on the pitch anytime soon. So the one thing you can say about Maguire is that he's always there, he's always available, and he always gives 110%. So I think if he's willing to take a pay cut, I would expect him to commit his future.
Yeah, and even for me, we say a lot of things to describe Harry Maguire, and Crookie said there, he's always there, he's always available, gives 100%. But also his ability.
Yeah.
He's still very good. When he plays, he's usually the best centre-back on the pitch. Do you know what I mean? Which is incredible. He's so dominant in the air still. He's really good on the ball. He's still good bringing the ball out. He's good at defending the box. Of course, the whole where we've been with Maguire in past times is if you're playing too high and there's a lot of space in behind, and I make no mistake in being naive to think that the setup is helping us better. We're getting more out of our players because of what Carrick and the coaching staff have done. We're more compact. We're playing in a 4-4-2. The game's simplified, so that will help Harry Maguire. But yeah, anyone who plays next to him looks good. He was forming that really good partnership with Lisandro Martinez before he got injured. Lenny Yoro's been really suffering for confidence at different points of this season. He looks like he's settled down under Maguire's tutorship. And again, in both boxes, he's a massive threat as well. So he's the most dominant centre-back that we've got in terms of aerially and physically. For me, for somebody who would definitely want to stay here, like what Crookie's saying, want to take less wages, I think you can get Harry Maguire down to say, right, you're on 100 grand a week now instead of the 180, 190 you're on. And I think Harry Maguire is someone who loves the club, and he's been consistent. So yeah, and I think definitely if he finds himself on that plane to the World Cup, which he's got every chance of doing, when we've got so much problems to fix, multiple midfielders we need attackers, we need fullbacks, like you said, they haven't even got there. Even with Harry Maguire, you've got to look at the centre-backs because there's a lot of injuries there, so you're going to need one of them. So I think we need to give ourselves as little to do as possible, considering we have to do a lot, and if you can retain someone who's reliable, I would do it. And just quickly on Lenny Yoro, actually, I think he's really calmed down a little bit in the last few games.
Yeah, definitely. There's been quite a few nervy moments. I've kind of felt sorry for him at times because he's been put in situations that he probably isn't 100% ready for because of the injuries to other players. But yeah, no, I think overall he's done really, really well with the pressure. I like the way that he speaks. He's speaking to the media. Manchester United is a club that has to be in the Champions League. Like I said, the way that he speaks about Harry Maguire, I think he's just like a really exciting young prospect. And I agree with Crook. Is he ready to be playing week in, week out in Premier League, Champions League games where there's going to be a lot of pressure? Probably not. We do definitely need more support for him, because the last thing you want to do is, it was a bit of a rocky season. He seems to have clawed it back a little bit, seems much more composed. You don't then want to throw him into something next season where he ends up completely crashing out. You do need to manage it as best you can. But yeah, overall, I think he's been really good, and props to him to be such a young age to come to a club like Manchester United. There was so much hype around him. Wasn't cheap, so yeah, props to him.
Yeah, exactly. He has really settled down. The skipper, Bruno Fernandes, was really good on the weekend. Crookie, have a couple of assists for him. Got a really good relationship with Casemiro at the minute, and Bruno's just inevitable in all these games, isn't he?
Yeah, he is, and it's just a shame we wasted half a season playing him in a position where you weren't going to see him at his best in that defensive midfield role. I mean, again, that in itself is a sackable offence, isn't it? To not realise that Bruno Fernandes needs to be playing higher up to really influence proceedings. And if we do get in the Champions League this season, as appears likely, he's played a bigger part than anybody, not just with his assists, but with the way that he drives the team on. And I'll reiterate what I've said a few times on this show. If you're listening, Jason Wilcox, Omar Barada, do not even think about allowing him to leave the club at the end of the season, because next year in the Champions League, again, he will be an absolutely vital component. I know we're going to talk about his numbers and maybe his chances of winning the PFA Player of the Year later in the show. I think there's a debate to be had now. He's just gone past David Beckham's record of assists in a single Premier League season for United. Who's the better player, Beckham or Bruno Fernandes?
Look at this. Crookie's throwing them out today, isn't he?
I know.
I'm going to throw that one to you.
Oh, my God, that's...
No, I'm playing. But it is an interesting
It's a tough one. I mean, Crookie will probably go with David Beckham because Crookie thinks that football was better in the 90s.
And he's right.
Right. And he loves a bit of nostalgia, does Crook, doesn't he?
Yeah.
But no, Bruno Fernandes, he's been absolutely fantastic. And, Crookie touched on that record that he's broken. The record for the most Premier League assists in a single season is 20, held by Thierry Henry and Kevin De Bruyne. I think he could go past that. I mean, it's what's he got to get? 5 in 8 games?
Yeah.
It's not impossible.
Nowhere near.
That is absolutely not impossible for him. So yeah, I think absolutely amazing. 100 assists for the club. Yeah, he can't be going anywhere. And I know Michael Carrick touched on it as well about how he wouldn't want him to go. He's like, I can't really get involved, or there's not too much I can say. But, he's a player that I would like to remain at the club.
Absolutely. A little bit more Bruno Fernandes shortly in the show. We don't think we're just glossing over our skipper. We've got a whole section dedicated to the man, the myth, the legend that is Bruno Fernandes. Matheus Cunha scored a really important goal yesterday because, on Sunday. The game was 1-1 at the time. and you want him to activate. You want that to see that side of Matheus Cunha as well, and he showed it. Really good finish at a pivotal point of the game.
Yeah, excellent. We've seen him a couple of times this season really kind of step up and be counted when needed. I know there's been a few games where he's maybe not been at his best, but yeah, the finish was absolutely fantastic. I thought he did really well across the game. I know the first half of the game in general wasn't, setting the world alight, but I think overall, yeah, he had a really good, solid performance. And I'm just glad that when you look at Cunha and Mbuemo, of course there's areas where players can improve, but there was so much, for me anyway, there's a lot of nervousness of, are these players going to work? Because we've had so many players at Man United that they've looked amazing. It's not quite, the piece of the puzzle haven't quite fit. But I think that they've both been absolutely amazing this season. So I'm so happy that he got the goal. Amazing.
Yeah, and Cunha's had to adjust because essentially as we bought him under Ruben Amorim, Crook can put it on mute for a sec. But as we bought him under Ruben Amorim,
under the previous manager,
there you go. He was obviously brought in and was perfect for the 2-10s at the time that we played. That was where he was playing at Wolves, Crookie. That was what he was used to. Now we're asking him to be a sort of orthodox left winger in a 4-4-2, which probably doesn't come... Well, not probably. It doesn't come natural to him. He does want to come inside. He's not really going to take guys to the byline and get crosses in, but he is showing a little bit more variation in a few games. He went past Bellegarde in the first half, got a really good cross into the box, nobody was on the end of it. Second half, makes a run from outside to in, also forces the issue for Seshko's goal by going past him, getting across, and then they make a mistake from that. So he is actually warming to this left-sided role, even though that's not his natural position.
No, and I think that's credit to his footballing intelligence. He's obviously someone who knows the game very well. He's got a great tactical and technical ability, and I think he was more of an old school winger in this game. He did spend a lot more time sort of hugging the byline than maybe he has done and has been accustomed to over the course of his career. So yeah, credit to him, credit to Michael Carrick as well for getting a tune out of Cunha in that position. I think we're still to see the best of him. There's been some very good performances. The one at Anfield for me stands out a million miles as he's best in a Manchester United shirt, but I think he's someone who, in time, fully fit, gets a defined role in the team, can really become a fan favourite. I think Matheus Cunha.
Yeah, he's been good, hasn't he, Ange? I mean, there of course there's going to be games where, there was a time sort of beginning of the season, and Mbuemo was the one doing quite well, and you're like, Cunha just want a little bit more consistency.
Yeah.
Now Brian Mbeumo's dipped it ever so slightly, and then Cunha's taken it. This is why you just buy good players, right? This is what it's about, investment. Right, let's talk about Bruno Fernandes properly.
Yeah.
Let's talk about him properly because there's been a lot of debate.
The PFA player of the season.
Because there's been a lot of debate about that, Ange. About, is he the best player in the Premier League this year?
Yep.
Should he be winning the PFA Premier League PFA Player of the Year?
Yep.
By what you've just kind of chimed in with there, I feel like you're saying he is.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, Crook and I have had this conversation on a separate talkSPORT podcast, and at the time it was kind of like a hot take that I was giving. Now it doesn't seem as much of a hot take.
It's not that hot.
It was a few months ago, so I'll take that one. That's absolutely fine. But yeah, Bruno Fernandes.
You've always been one step ahead, Ange.
This is me, Crook. Always one step ahead.
She saw Dorgu's talent a mile off.
Yeah, of course I did. I was the one that said that he should be playing on the wing. But yeah, he's been absolutely fantastic, and I think that a lot of number 10s have struggled this season. We know that Cole Palmer, seems like he's got a bit of an injury. Phil Foden keeps going MIA. You look at Eric Eze, a lot of Arsenal fans haven't been that impressed. Florian Wirtz, we're seeing a little bit more from him, but Bruno Fernandes has stood out from the crowd, and he's been forced to play, like Crookie said, in positions that don't necessarily come naturally to him. I think to play such a role, I'm not going to say he's done it single-handedly, but it's felt single-handedly at times. Drag this team up. You look at last season and some of the work that he put in, we'd have finished even lower than 15th. So all of that combined, I just think that he's been absolutely amazing. And in terms of attacking players that create and score goals in the final third, I just don't think that there's anybody better than him across this season. And playing in this Manchester United team, like I touched on, where he's not in the right position, but just playing in a team where you've had a manager that hasn't been good. You've had certain players that, haven't necessarily stepped up to the plate when needed. So, yeah, I think that he's dead on for it. I know maybe some Arsenal fans might argue somebody like Declan Rice or whatever, and there'll be arguments for players in other teams, but when you look at big players in other teams, let's take like a Virgil van Dijk or maybe like an Erling Haaland, or I'm trying to think of other players, but big players, do you think that you could stick any of those in a side like Manchester United that were 15th and would improve them the way that Bruno has? I don't know if I necessarily would say any of those players would. So, and obviously they play in different positions, but take someone like Mo Salah, for example. He's not been great. So, yeah, for me, he's got to be. I'd be shocked. I'd be shocked. There was a graph on Sky. So I'd be shocked if he doesn't get it.
Would you?
Yeah, because there was a graph on Sky Sports of where Bruno was in comparison to everybody else. It was a complete and
like
utter
double the amount of chances,
mile off. And maybe other clubs have been lacking. Liverpool haven't been as good as we've expected. Man City, you can argue, haven't been as what we expected. Chelsea maybe haven't stepped up as much as some people might have thought they would. But he's been amazing. He's been integral to Manchester United. He's been an amazing watch for neutrals that enjoy watching the Premier League. So yeah, for me, he's got to get it.
Crookie, is there a case to be made that Bruno should be the PFA Player of the Year over, somebody like Gabriel, over somebody like Declan Rice, etc.? Should Arsenal indeed do what they look like they're going to go on to do and win the league?
I think there's definitely an argument, and if you're talking about the best attacking player in the league, and call me old-fashioned, but I like to see those players as the ones who are crowned as Player of the Year, then I think Bruno Fernandes should win it, but I don't think he will. I think he will go to an Arsenal player. They're going to win the league for the first time in 20-odd years. I'm starting to seriously worry they might win all 4 cups, because I fancy them in the cup final against a struggling City this weekend. I think they'll get through in the Champions League and are on the favourable side of that draw. They've got Southampton away in the quarterfinals of the FA Cup, so they should be semi-finalists in that competition. So I think we've got to prepare for the worst. And I think Declan Rice probably will be crowned Player of the Year. And actually, it was put to me early this week by a neutral in this debate, and he asked the question: do you think Bruno Fernandes, when it comes to the PFA Player of the Year, obviously voted for by the players themselves, does he have the same likability amongst his peers that Declan Rice does? And listen, we love him, but I'm not sure he does.
Well, do you know what? That's an interesting point, actually, because I think he does. There was Jack Grealish posting on his Instagram about how good. In fact, I think it's the other way around, Crookie. I think it's the actual pros who understand how good this guy is, and it's fans who sometimes don't have a clue. Sometimes it's been some of our own fans who need to hold their heads in shame. I'm going to name and shame. Anil Condola. Where are you, talkSPORT's very own? You hate Bruno Fernandes. You're always pushing a narrative against Bruno Fernandes. And now
he wants him sold.
And now Thierry Henry, exactly. And now Thierry Henry's been on Sky, waxing lyrical, one of the best of the best. This is the guy who currently holds the record. Now TT's spoken. Everyone's jumping on board the train. What is this? Bruno Fernandes hasn't changed a damn thing about how he is as a player, by the way.
He's
always been this good. It's just everything around him that's changed. We've invested into proper forwards, We've invested into players who can finish their dinner, which obviously helps. And this narrative that is pushed against Bruno Fernandes, because the wider context don't like him, Crookie, is where has he led Man United? Where he led them to 15th, or he hasn't led them to a Premier League. Last time I checked,
it led us to avoid relegation at one point last season.
There seems to be this misconception, right, that top players win things by themselves. It doesn't happen. They have good seasons when things are good, but they don't single-handedly make a team win. Thierry Henry didn't win without Patrick Vieira and Bergkamp. And Ashley Cole, etc., and Lehmann. He didn't win without those guys. Messi didn't win without Suarez and Neymar and Ronaldinho and Iniesta, Xavi, Busquets, Dani Alves. He didn't win without those guys. He didn't win titles at PSG without Mbappe and this, that and the other. You don't win by yourself. So we're acting like football is an individual sport. It's about doing your job. And for the Arsenal fans that want to act like Bruno's not in contention for the PFA Player of the Year by talking about all the things Arsenal have done, no. The PFA Player of the Year, it's not Team of the Year.
Yeah.
It's Player of the Year. It's talking about who's been consistent enough in their position. It's not about just only about where you finish. I agree. It probably will go to the Premier League winners. They haven't won it in a while.
But have they had as big of an impact as Bruno Fernandes has had?
And listen, Gabriel's been fantastic.
Yeah.
So has Declan Rice. And if it does go to any of them, I've got no qualms with that whatsoever. Yeah. But it's not Bruno against Arsenal. It's Bruno against other individuals of all the other 19 clubs.
Nobody has hit those heights. And this is the thing about him. No matter what is going on, he just carries on and pushes through.
He's done it in spite of.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? This in spite of playing as a number 6.
Yeah.
In spite of being in a team that's losing every week because you've had the worst manager we've ever seen in Premier League history. But guess what? My job is still being done. I don't have any excuses for not doing my job.
And if he gets that, if he surpasses that, the Thierry Henry and Kevin De Bruyne record, again, that's another argument. He is the best creative player in the Premier League at the moment.
In Europe.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And then all these things at Arsenal in all these different competitions, that's great. But we're talking about the Premier League.
I agree with you, though, about it is an individual award. And again, people might say it is biased being a Manchester United fan, but I look at all of these players and, like you say, got respect for them. Brilliant. If they do win it, I'm not going to sit and pout about it. But have they had that impact?
Yeah. And
Arsenal as a team, fantastic. But have those individuals had that same impact?
And I think actually, Crookie, in a season that is a little bit of an anomaly, when we're discussing this season, a lot of people are criticising Arsenal, criticising the style of play that exists within the Premier League. Liverpool have fallen off. Chelsea aren't doing anything. Man City have fallen off. In a league that's kind of like this, Mo Salah's been nowhere near it, where your traditional guys aren't really doing what they're meant to be doing. Well, then we have to look elsewhere in a season. We're looking elsewhere sort of at the top of the table where we're like, well, I'll tell you what, Arsenal are going to win a league in this fashion. Well, Haaland scored, 22 Premier League goals? Do you look at Haaland and say, even though he scored the most goals this year, does he look like a player who's been the player of the year? Absolutely not. Now, I saw a stat that he's only scored 4 goals from the turn of the year to now. Only 4 of his 22 goals have come from them, so he's scored in a massive purple patch. Igor Thiago is the second highest scoring player in the league. Would you say that he's been the best player? You look at any of Arsenal's front line, any of Liverpool's, any of Chelsea's, of course, any of Spurs. There's no other player operating at that level. So you then have to go to midfielders and defenders, which is indicative of the type of season that it is, Crookie.
Yeah, I'm just trying to tot it up here in front of me because I've got the list of winners in recent years. Do you know the last Manchester United player to win the PFA Player of the Year? Could it either you tell me?
Won't be David De Gea, will it? No. Oh, that's our Player of the Year. No, that's our Player of the Year, not the PFA. Yeah, Wayne Rooney.
Yeah, Wayne Rooney, 2010. So it's, do you know what? It's just nice to have someone in the conversation again. I guess the last time we'd have had a player in the conversation would have probably been Robin van Persie in Fergie's last title-winning year in 2013. But the reason I've got the list up in front of me, I'm trying to see when the last time a player who didn't win the league was crowned PFA Player of the Year.
Well, Salah, De Bruyne, they've all won it without winning the league.
I think you have to go back to, Mo Salah, 21-22.
Yeah.
But that is a little bit of an anomaly. It does usually go to the player who wins the title. Riyad Mahrez when Leicester won it, for example. N'Golo Conte at Chelsea the year after that. It's why I'm sceptical about Bruno's chances. But yeah, absolutely, he's part of the conversation. But what about that wider point? Go on then, I'm going to put it to you. Beckham or the captain?
Oh, man. The problem is, Crookie, is... the problem I've got with this is I am a nostalgia merchant. You know, Beckham with Predators with the tongue pulled down and the socks up and the haircuts and what he stands for as an icon versus how good a player he is. But Bruno's been in such a bad team at times. Like I think that's got to count for something in Bruno's repertoire, that he's operating without any world-class players, without any real leaders. You know, Beckham played with the best of them.
Yeah, Beckham was surrounded by stars throughout his career.
But really. But then that's how good I don't want to take down.
No,
Crookie, I don't like the question. I don't. I think I might have to back out of it. I just don't.
Can I give you an opinion?
Yeah, what do you say? Are you going to stick with Bex?
No, this might surprise you. I'm not. I'm going to go Bruno. Yeah, you know, listen. I've always said about David Beckham, and people have seen this as me being negative about him. He had a world-class ability when it came to that right foot, and he had a world-class attitude as well. But I think as an all-round player, I think Bruno Fernandes has more facets to his game than Beckham did.
Does Bruno Fernandes have more facets to his game than Beckham? Beckham could play centre mid if needs to. Good passing range, get about the pitch.
And I tell you what, if Portugal do well at the World Cup as well, with Bruno Fernandes kind of dragging him through.
What are you saying, Ballon d'Or? What are you saying?
No, I'm not saying Ballon d'Or. Hey, I don't know. No, I think there are other people for Ballon d'Or, but
who are you having Bex? Are you having Bruno?
I get where it's a really difficult question.
No answer's wrong.
Yeah. I get where Crook's coming from with Bruno Fernandes, but
would Beckham do this in this team? Just take Bruno out for Beckham. Would Beckham get the assist that Bruno's getting?
I don't know.
Well, in fairness, there were times when he dragged that England team up.
100%. I think with the state of current football, which again, nostalgia merchants alert, the state of current football, I think the players from yesteryear that were top players would laugh at this level of football.
Yeah.
I really do. So I'm going to call it a draw.
Yeah.
I can't. Yeah, I can't put my...
Get off that fence.
I can't. I like to be off the fence, but that one's just... it's just too much.
Yeah.
But Crookie touched on it a little bit earlier that, we absolutely can't allow Bruno to leave. There were times during the season, of course, Bruno came out talking with an interview he did with the Portuguese outlet, I think it was, while he was on international duty, just saying how he'd come close to leaving, and obviously we all know how public the offer from Saudi was in the summer. He spoke about that on international break as well during the summer in the Nations League, I think it was, and he alluded to the fact that this could be sort of last season-ish, but the way it's now changed, and depending on whether Michael Carrick is or isn't the manager, do you worry for Bruno's immediate future? Do you think he'll still be here next season?
I'd like to think that they'll be able to sort this out. Bruno clearly said that he wasn't done with Manchester United. I think that they might have to do a little bit of stroking of the ego because of the way that the hierarchy dealt with it, of like, listen, if you go, we'll be sad, but it's also kind of
new
okay
contract?
With us. I would like to see a new contract, yes. Yeah. So I think a bit of stroking of his ego needs to be done. Whether the hierarchy are able to do that, I'm not too sure. But I think, he's integral to Manchester United, and we did have those conversations at times of, is this the right time to cut the cord? But I think he's almost getting better with age, and he's just been so important. He said he wasn't done with Manchester United. I would like to see Bruno Fernandes go into the new season, hopefully with some extra new signings as well, on top of the great players that we got last summer. And, have a crack at, seeing Bruno Fernandes in the I know that, we were in the Champions League a couple of seasons ago, but I don't think we've got past the last 16 for many, many, many years. So, yeah, I'd like to see Bruno Fernandes. I think he deserves it. He deserves going into next season in the Champions League, seeing him play on the best stage with Manchester United. I think that'd be nice. And like I say, he said he wasn't done. So I think if we secure Champions League, that's going to be a massive boost for him to think, I've got something here. Or even if he's selfishly like, you know what, it's a good stage for me to kind of show myself off, because I do think if he did go, we'd be devastated, but I don't think anyone would hold it against him.
Yeah, no, I do see what you mean there. He's come so close. Well, the Bruno fan club is, I was going to say it's officially closed for some of you that are trying to jump on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Neil, yeah. Don't try and jump on it now. It's for the guys who've been there originally. So you guys stay silent where you guys are over there. And the people that are trying to jump on board, we know who you are. Crookie, let's look ahead to Bournemouth. A chance before we've got a really long break, obviously international break, and then out of the international break is FA Cup weekend, so we've got 3 weeks off. So really good position that we're in the league after winning on the weekend. How do you see this game? Bournemouth, it was a barnstormer last time, 4-4. People saying it was the best game of the season. There's been a few more exciting games since then, but that definitely sticks out in the memories, even though we didn't want it to be. How do you see this game going? Do you think it'll be a similar type of scoreline?
Well, I remember watching that game from sort of behind my fingers at the talkSPORT Christmas party. God. I think Angelina.
Oh yeah, I remember you saying that.
Yeah, we were going through that together. Yeah.
If it's half as good a contest, we'll be in for a treat, won't we? But difficult game. United's record against Bournemouth in recent seasons is not good. They're not winning many matches at the moment, the Cherries, but they're not losing many either. So, listen, I think a point just to keep the positive momentum would be an okay result. A victory, I think, would be terrific to really put the pressure on some of our rivals at the top end of the table heading into the weekend. But again, I'm not going there in fear. In previous seasons, Bournemouth away, we'll be lucky to get a point. I'm not feeling that. A point would be okay, but I think we've got a great chance of getting all three.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that, Ange.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, for Bournemouth, it's always going to be difficult to try and replace someone like Antoine Semenyo and the goals that he scored for them. It just seems like they are having shots, they're taking chances, but they're just not being clinical enough. So they've also, I think, they've drawn quite a few games recently, haven't they? So I think going into this, I agree with Crookie. I'm not terrified. I think, again, it's another good test for Michael Carrick. But Man United should, be winning this one.
Yeah, I think it would just put us in such a great position. Again, every win is putting us in a great position. Every
they
game
are unbeaten in 10, though, so
exactly.
we do have to weigh that up. It's not going to be a walk in the park.
Exactly. Yeah. It does feel like sort of going to a point. But again, it feels like a real opportunity. Go there, win that, you're off for 3 weeks, come and put everything into that, get 3 points over the line by hook or by crook, and find a way.
Yeah, and they have drawn was it West Ham, Sunderland, Brentford, Burnley.
They haven't been great.
So it's not like they're knocking teams out of the park or anything. They will be there for the taking, and you would like to think that the quality that we've got and the confidence that we should have, they'll have confidence as well, but the confidence that we've got and the hunger that we should have to really, really cement our place in this top four, I do want a win.
Yeah, we've got to want a win. I mean, just quickly as well, Alex Scott, has he been on United's radar a little bit on the list of potentials?
Yeah, I think so. I think, again, what you're going to see this summer is United looking to recruit from within the Premier League, going for that experience of football in this country. It worked well last summer. I think he's a cheaper option than some of the names that are being mentioned. I still think, I keep hearing they want 2 midfielders, but I don't think it's going to be Elliot Anderson and Adam Wharton. I just don't see financially how that's viable. So it might be Elliot Anderson, Adam Wharton, or Carlos Baliba, and then a cheaper option. I think certainly Alex Scott will come into that category. He's had a few injury problems since he joined Bournemouth, but when he's fit, I think he's a really good player. Yeah,
I think we are sort of so wrapped up in that sort of big three chat, aren't we, with the Anderson, Baliba, Wharton, then we're adding in Tonali, etc. Skulls with the love heart for Tonali, Radin in him. But it's true, I think we only get one big one over the line, and then you've got to be a little bit more economical how you spend the money on a second one. But like you say, guys, this is a team that hasn't lost in 10 games. It is always a tough place to go to, Bournemouth. Okay, well, it is that time of the week. It's time for our Bet Builder with BetMGM. You can download the app or head over to betmgm.co.uk. And what have you got for us? Manchester United taking on Bournemouth.
Yes. So I am going for Manchester United to win, obviously, because we want those 3 points. And other than the midweek games that we've been talking about, United have been winning under Michael Carrick. That is a fact. So let's just keep that going. Under 3.5 total goals I've gone with. Bournemouth have only scored 1 in their last 4, but haven't conceded many either. So I have a feeling it could be a low-scoring game. And I have also gone with half-time draw, full-time, obviously Man United winning. United seem to score way more goals in the second halves of games under Michael Carrick than they do in the first half. I think only 4 of about 18 goals have come from before half-time since he took over. So that's was my thinking behind that one. So if it's going to be low scoring, 0-0 or 1-1 at half-time makes sense to me before United go on in the second half and get the winner. So yeah, the Bet Builder, Man United to win, under 3.5 total goals, and half-time draw, full-time Man United.
I do like that. That's well crafted. He's used the stats well there to predict what's going on. I do like that.
Spend a lot of time on this Bet Builder.
You do. Right, let's lock in the predictions then before we go. Crookie, what have you got for us? I know you're edging towards a point, etc. But come on, Crookie, come on. We can do it, no?
I'm going to go optimistic 2-1 United victory.
That's the Crookie we know and love. The one that's on the edge. Yeah. That's the one. What are you going with, Ange?
I'm going to go 2-0.
Ooh.
I think 0-0 at half-time, come out in the second half and score 2 goals.
I like it.
Yep.
I see why Crookie's going with a draw. I've got 1-1 or 1-0. I'm going to go with 1-0. I think it'll be tight. gritty, might not be the best, but we nick it and we get out of the South Coast with 3 points, and hopefully some more results
all wins,
go away.
that's all that matters.
All wins, exactly. Right, that's all we've got time for on Inside Devils. Big thank you to Ange, of course, and Alex Crook every single week. This has been sponsored by BetMGM. Remember, you can visit betmgm.co.uk or download the app. Please gamble responsibly. 18+, gambleaware.org, and we'll see you on the next episode.